Seminar. Black Pound Day anniversary. Eh. Tell your brethren, yeah. Black Pound Day anniversary. Eh. Party hard.
Yeah, that's right, family. The Black Pound Day store's official opening is on the 25th of June, 2022, the weekend of our anniversary, where we will cut the ribbon and open our doors for you to spend with over 80 plus UK black-owned brands the whole year round. That's right, people. We are here to stay. This is a mini department store, so we have categories ranging from homeware to clothing, skincare and beauty, books, family entertainment and children's toys and accessories. We are located in West London's Westfield White City Shopping Centre, Unit 1068, which is situated right next door to the Five Guys. Our opening time is from 10 a.m. until 8 p.m. And guess what?
There will be a UK funky DJ and PA set from myself, Deneo, including fellow DJs Ace from One Extra, Fiona Hall and Timeless from So Solid to enhance your shopping experience. So you know the roof will be on fire.
The Black Pound Day store will officially open in Westfield White City on Saturday the 25th of June 2022 at 10 a.m. See you there. Remember, the revolution will be economized.
Hello, good evening everybody and welcome to Now Chat Show. I'm Miss T and unfortunately this evening my girl Kaz.
Listen, girl, I don't know how long I'm going to be able to do this. I'm going to come out because it's echoing, it's terrible. You're going to have to leave.
Oh, okay, so there we go. As you can see, as you can tell, we are having a few technical issues, but don't worry about that. We'll get through it because that's what we do. We're normal people, and when something crops up like this, we just continue moving forward. So today we have on the show with us a beautiful young woman, Brittany Works, who is coming to speak to us. Sorry, because Kaz is also talking to me while she's trying to sort out the issues in the back. So what have you all been up to? What's been happening this week? Today has been so beautiful, and unfortunately, I didn't get to go to Windrush Day, but I was able to join a live and see what was going on, thankfully because of Coco Girl magazine. So I jumped on there and I was loving it. The vibes down there was amazing. Everybody from like different corners just came together on the South Bank and had an amazing time. So that is to be celebrated because Windrush is a very, very important era for us as Caribbeans, and the story has to be told. So if you don't know much about Windrush, there are so many things happening. Please jump online, have a look, and go and find out some more. What else has happened this week? The Right Honourable Stormzy was given a doctorate. Yes, I can't remember the university, but he's been given a doctorate, which is amazing for his contribution to youth work and just the industry, what he's been doing. So don't believe me, what I've been saying, go and check out that news, okay? My cat has joined me. Her name is Kitty Figaro. She's noisy. She's a bully. She likes to just come and be like, yeah, touch me. So if you see my hand moving, it's because I have a cat, okay? All right, go. So what have I been up to this week? This week, I have been to school. I'm a bit flustered because my son was putting pressure on me to do his hair. So took a bit of time to get me makeup and stuff done. My hair's just flung up, but hey, as Kaz says, the show must go on. So I'm waiting. I don't know when our guest is arriving, but let me give you a bit of background about the wonderful Brittany. She's going to be talking about post-traumatic slave syndrome. So she has studied about this. She is in Atlanta, Georgia. Bear with me a moment. Let me just find my notes. Okay, wait. Apologies, everybody. Apologies. Right. So, I don't know if you received any of our publicity, but post-traumatic slave syndrome is a condition that exists when a population has experienced multi-generational trauma resulting from centuries of slavery and continues to experience oppression and institutionalized racism today. That's DeGruy 2005. So here we go. We've got Brittany's bio. Hi, Brittany. I'm just introducing you, okay? I'm going to read your bio if you don't mind, unless you want to. Is that okay?
That's fine. Sounds good. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, no problem. So Brittany is the founder and executive director of Matters of Our Mind, LLC, and serves as a consultant for educators, non-profit organizations, and communities to address structural racism, to understand the impact of trauma and implicit bias in the workplace, and to provide evidence-based models that promote trauma-informed care and culturally specific strategies to enhance agency mission. As a former mental health therapist in Georgia prison system and serving as a former supervisor for a community-based mental health team in metropolitan Atlanta, Brittany understands the impact of systemic racism and trauma on the BIOPC. Brittany, you're going to have to explain it to me because I don't know what that is, okay?
Black, Indigenous, people of color.
She believes that balanced historical perspective. Thank you very much, because I'm not with the acronyms from the States, so thank you very much for that, Brittany. Historical perspective coupled with evidence-based practices create individuals qualified to impact outcomes in the communities and places of business. Brittany holds a Bachelor of Social Work from Oakwood University and a Master of Social Work from Clark Atlanta University. Brittany has been recognized for exceptional leadership and commitment to her community. And we applaud her. Thank you and welcome. Thank you for accepting our invitation to come and speak to us. No yes, Ordinary Woman chat show.
Thank you. Can you hear me?
So, Brittany, yeah. I can hear you. I can hear you. There's a little bit of a delay. So I'm going to let you just give us a little bit of a background. Tell us what you're up to nowadays, what's informing your work. I'm sure there's so much for you to tell us. So I'll give you the floor for now.
Thank you. Yes. So I do anti-racism work. You know, I work with various organizations, these businesses throughout the country to reduce racism and provide equity and services. So a lot, what we do understand about racism is that racism is structural and is a design. And so that means that structure or that racist, design is in a lot of our systems that we have, whether it's housing, whether it's schools. And so what I do is I like to work with organizations to look at how they can address the issues of racism. And I also provide training to various staff on anti-racism. And, lately my focus has been looking at healthcare disparities and the experiences that people have in healthcare system and how we can kind of alleviate to provide, equitable health services.
That's a lot. That is a lot. So you are an extremely busy woman. I'm not sure where to start. So America, as you know, is different to the UK. So we also face a lot of the same issues, but it's totally different. So, for example, the whole world was watching when the incident happened with George Floyd. It created many, many different dialogues. Can you tell me how that affected you and your work, please, Brittany?
Well, ironically, I started my business about 2 weeks before he passed away, before his murder. So I was just really entering into work. And right as I was doing that, this, horrific incident occurred. And it really, it's almost like I just kind of jumped in full force. There was so much happening especially here in the States. And I live in Atlanta, so we were also having a lot of just civil unrest, a lot of protests, a lot of frustration, a lot of rioting was happening during that time. I know I was greatly impacted. It was frustrating. It was just frustrating having to just kind of get up and go to work and just know and just see it every day. It was just difficult. It is not a time in our country's history that I would wish to relive, and just the impact that it had, not here in the US, but everywhere across the world. It was really a challenging time, but I would say his death, truly not in vain. It has opened up the doors for many conversations, especially in spaces where those conversations would not normally be taking place, like in our places of employment and things like that.
So do you think that due to that tragedy, has it changed anything? I mean, for us in the UK, I can honestly say to you that Black Lives Matter came out of that over to here, and it's not something that sits comfortably with me. So I'd like to find out what your perspective is also on Black Lives Matter, if you don't mind.
What do you mean when you say it doesn't sit comfortably with you? What do you mean?
Well, when I say, okay, so for myself, hi, Kaz.
Hi. Can you guys hear me?
And
yay! Praise the Lord. Hallelujah. I'm so sorry.
Fantastic.
Continue with the conversation.
You made it. So no, I was just saying, when I say it didn't sit comfortably with me, for the people that were kind of like the leaders and, kind of spearheading it, they didn't seem to me like, since then, obviously things have come out in the social media that they were taking the money and buying houses and all that kind of stuff. So, for me, I have to pick sense from nonsense. But from the beginning, I just thought, this is just going to create further division. And I just wasn't comfortable with it. Like, personally, I feel like, yeah, of course, Black Lives Matter. But for me, as a humanitarian, all lives matter. And when you know better, you do better. So especially with the backlash and the controversy that followed it afterwards. So I don't know, where do you sit with it?
Well, Black Lives Matter is an organization, and the organization, and I support Black Lives Matters to this point at least. Sounds like there, and I don't know all of the detail. It sounds like there was some mismanagement of funds. Sounds like that was, taking place, and I don't condone that, but I can't. I cannot look at that situation and dismiss all of the work that they've done with those same funds that have been incredibly helpful and resourceful to families who've been impacted by racially motivated violence, as well as toward education funds. Like, that has gone to a lot of really, really good places. And so while I don't condone the misuse of funds, and I hate that, to this point, I support Black Lives Matters, but the movement is so much bigger than the organization, if that makes any sense. And what is represented and what has come from Black Lives Matter is far more influential and reaching and positive than I think the incidents that we see. I'm in the United States. The United States is, literally on trial for treason, the president almost. So when I look at it, that is like, it sounds like some people mismanaged, and that needs to be addressed, but I can't dismiss the work because it's been so impactful and far greater than this, particular incident.
Well, that's good to hear because, you're on the ground, you're there. So to get that information from you, that is more comforting. Anyway, my girl Kaz Mack is here. I'm really pleased because I was missing you, Kaz. I'm not gonna lie. You got any questions for Brittany?
Oh, bless you. First and foremost, apologies to
Come in.
everybody for the technical glitch that we experienced. This is one of the beautiful things that we get to experience when we do a live, and we do have the wonderful Brittany Works on with us right now. We're going to be discussing post-traumatic slave syndrome. What is post-traumatic slave syndrome? Brittany's just spoken with Miss T with regards to Black Lives Matter. And yes, every lives does matter, but we have to keep it real. We as a Black people, we have gone through so much. We have experienced the worst Holocaust that you could actually visualize, and we can't forget that. But I think this is a beautiful thing about this discussion, because we're going to talk about what is post-traumatic slave syndrome. And I remember watching you back in 2020, Brittany.
Yes.
I think that's when you was doing a Zoom in the UK, and it was all over internationally. And I was really taken back by your insight, because obviously you being a mental health professional, and obviously working within the Metropolitan Police in Atlanta, Georgia as well. So, you're doing the groundwork, and you're seeing so much things that we wouldn't even be able to comprehend. It takes a special type of person to be able to do this role. So I just want to salute you first and foremost, because I personally could not do it. That's why you're doing it. But we just give thanks that we have great people like yourself. So if you just want to, because first and foremost, Brittany, I just want to ask you first and foremost, how are you doing today? How are you?
Today's been stressful.
You've been stressful?
Stressful. I stubbed my toe at a forklift at Walmart, and it does not feel good. So shortly after, I'll be going to urgent care.
Oh my gosh.
It's all good. We're here, and I'm smiling, so I'm okay. But my COVID.
Sending you healing to your big toe.
Yes.
I think I need to. Is
it your left? Is it your left toe? Is it your left big toe or your right?
It's my big right toe, and my child has COVID, so I'm just. We're
sending you love and healing into your household. I'm sorry to hear that.
Babe, bun it out.
Yeah.
The devil's a liar.
Listen, science is a liar. Trust me, because the technical glitch that we had just now, that was a lie. Yeah. But anyway, we move on. But you're otherwise you're fit and healthy, but you're going to be healed real soon. So yeah, we're going to be real quick. We're not going to keep you too long, because we're obviously mindful about the time and obviously your pain, etc.
I'm good.
So I just want to ask you, what led you to becoming a mental health therapist?
Probably childhood trauma, honestly. Just experiences that I've had, and it's like, okay, well, I think this is kind of what I want to do. I want to help people the way I was helped, type of situation. And I think that's initially what led me to mental health. And when I started in that area of mental health, I was in the correctional system, so I was providing therapy in prisons. And that's primarily, what my professional background was doing as a social worker. Because that's my training as a social worker. And so I did that. And in that process, you really, if you know anything about the prison system in America, it is inherently racist. And so when you work in that system, you really get to see up close, not only how the system works, but how people are impacted by it. And so I had a passion to kind of teach and help other people understand. Professionals, a lot of white professionals have no idea how to, or just have like a basic knowledge of how racism has impacted Black people and other people of color. So that is kind of what brought me into it. And, I actually work in healthcare now, which, as far as I'm concerned, is probably one of the most important places that we should focus our anti-racist work, because the racism is in our bodies. And so I'm hoping that we can kind of talk about that a little bit more today. So yeah, that's kind of what led me to mental health.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Amazing. T?
Did you just say racism is in our bodies?
Yes.
Yeah, she did.
Can you hear me?
Yeah. Can hear you.
Can you just explain that?
Yeah, can you elaborate a bit more in terms of what makes you say that racism is within our body? And when you say that's within our body, are you talking about every single human being on this planet, or just a specific demographic of people?
I would
Ethnic group.
I think most people on the planet have experienced what I call white body supremacy or some level of racism when it comes to whiteness. Whether you are in Asia, whether you're Africa, whether you're in the Caribbean or US, there's this inherent idea that whiteness is superior, and it is reflected in various ways. As far as racism or being in our body, let me start by saying that trauma lies in our body, just in general. When we have traumatic experiences, and this really is so important because a lot of our focus on trauma and healing has come from a very logical perspective, from a very talk therapy, from a coping skill, from a, your mind making the appropriate decisions, if you will, to kind of assist with your healing. But the reality is when we have a traumatic experience, our body reacts before our mind does. The visceral or an experience of the nervous system. When we have trauma, it's like, for example, if you're driving in the car, like when I've been on a highway before, this has happened multiple times, where I've been on the highway and I will be maybe see a car look like it's coming to me. And before I can even logically recognize that it's not going to hit me, my body has responded to this threat. My heart is racing. I'm a little nervous. My mouth is dry. And that's all in just a matter of seconds, right? And so that's what happens to us just in general when we experience trauma. It happens to our body and then our brain clicks, right? So when you look at racism, and racism being in our body, not just one, but two different ways, not one is in our reaction to it, our bodies are going to react first. And then also trauma is carried in our DNA. And I was hoping I could show one of those videos, but we know for a fact that when people have a traumatic experience, that trauma impacts their DNA, and that DNA change is then carried on to their children. Okay. So that is having that experience in our bodies. But have you ever, like, whenever you have a police involved shooting with a black person, usually a black male, where this individual is not armed, and a police officer shoots them. We've all seen them. I'm sure this happens in the UK as well, I would assume.
We don't have it to the extent that you guys experience it. I mean, for us in the UK, we do, obviously the police does harass a lot of our black young people and men as well. The black man is always targeted. But in terms of how it is in the USA, it's not as harsh, but it's still bad, if that makes sense, because it's done in a more, I feel that it's more done in a more psychological way of doing things. So like you was mentioning before, in terms of, the car coming and, you're driving, it's not going to hit you, but obviously you're responding to it because your emotions is responding to it. But I feel that that's the same way, like what it is for us. Like, even if I get stopped by the police, I'm just thinking, oh my God, what are they going to say to me? I know everything's clean. It's just like, I think, right. I get that the anxiety comes across.
And experience of our bodies, right? So, all right, so let's put this into perspective, because I believe that racism, I believe that, I have to say, whenever I say it, like I'm not saying, right? So both black and white people have this trauma within our bodies. Okay.
Agreed.
And I'll give you an example of what it looks like for a white person, right? White people have been told for centuries that they are, number one, fragile, and number two, that they are to fear black people, fear the black body. To some, like there is an innate fear that has been indoctrinated in white folks. Okay.
Yeah.
Whether in the UK or the US, it's there.
Yeah.
Which you can have a 12-year-old Tamir Rice in the US who is playing with the toy gun, and a white cop can come up on him who has been trained for years on how to address these situations. And before logically thinking, he responds by shooting. because he saw him as a threat, and that was innately indoctrinated for centuries. Okay, and so that response was a visceral nervous system response. I don't think that when he woke up, he said, "I want to shoot a black kid today." I don't. I think that the threat and the bias that he has toward black people is what triggered him into that response, right? And for black people, you know how trauma works in our body. Like we, we can see a cop in our, it happens to me all the time. Or another way that our body holds trauma is when we see, and this is again a United States experience potentially, but when I see white people in distress, my reaction is to calm them down so that they don't in turn hurt me or feel frightened by me.
That's
So
interesting.
We do this all the time. We're always coddling white people because we've been taught that that's the way to protect ourselves, and they've been taught to fear us. So those are all like body experiences that are within, like that. I think racism that we don't always address, but I think we have to address that first, because when we can get that part of us under control, then we can start to be logical. But without understanding just how our body reacts to things, I think we continue to be in this like cycle where we're trying to deal with things logically, and it's just not going to work. But when you're looking at TSS or post-traumatic slave syndrome, that is, Dr. Joy DeGruy, and she has a book called Post-Traumatic Slave Syndrome. And this book is actually, she is the author, founder, and, all credit it goes to her for giving us the language for this, really providing that language. And so what she says is, Black people, we have had centuries of just oppression and trauma, and we have never been given the opportunity to heal from that experience. And so the continued the having generations of trauma without access to healing, on top of continued denial to resources that can assist us to provide equality, you're going to have some trauma. You're going to have post-traumatic slave syndrome. So, and from that, she says, you have 3 specific symptoms that can come from this. Vacant esteem is one of them, which we'll talk about. Anger, vacant esteem, ever-present anger, and then internalized racism. And so we see that throughout any area that has been affected by slavery, and where Black people exist on the planet, you will see the effects of this trauma. And while it's centuries, the cycle continues because the healing is not taking place that needs to take place. And so one of my goals is to just kind of help us be in a space where we can heal and then continue the healing to our children.
Okay, just let me know when you want me to start the slides. Do you want me to go to the next one, or
I kind of
you kind of just want to flow, or how you want to do this?
I have conversations and we can kind of but
flow. Because one of the things, because I like the fact that you talk about vacant esteem, because this is something that I feel the majority of us as Black people, our parents, our grandparents, really deals with. And if you can just elaborate a little bit more what vacant esteem is, because some of our listeners may never have heard this before, and they may need you to just break it down so that they get an understanding, so they can really understand this conversation.
Okay, you can pull up that slide as well.
Sure.
On vacant esteem. So basically, as a result of this experience, there are some symptoms that we have, and one of them, Dr. Joy DeGruy says, is vacant esteem. And we're all familiar with the idea of having low self-esteem. Somebody maybe does not feel well about themselves, or doesn't have a lot of confidence. But vacant esteem is described as something different. The state of believing oneself to have little or no worth, exacerbated by the group and societal pronouncement of inferiority. So not only do you not feel good about yourself, but with vacant esteem, there's this deep emptiness because society has also declared that you're inferior and that you have little value and little worth. And I often think about Black men when I think about vacant esteem, because I think that society is consistently telling them that they have little to no value. So she says this, you know, here's the thing, when we think about self-esteem and how we value ourselves, even if you look at children, children's self-worth, the way that they view themselves, whether good or bad, is a direct reflection of how they believe other people view them.
And also it starts off from your parent as well, because if your parents hasn't told you from like the get-go, you know, like if you've done something good or you haven't done something too good, or you've done something good, you know, like you're a good kid, you never ever getting any form of praise or any accolades whatsoever, then that obviously would have an impact in regards to, you know, how you later turn out. Do you get what I'm saying, you know? And Dr. DeGruy, she actually talks about that as well within the Vacant Esteem. Is that correct?
Yes, she talks about just the value, like generational value. For example, like when you have a grandbaby, that like when you get ready to have a child and your mother is looking at that child and viewing that child has so much value to her. You know, that child has done absolutely nothing to deserve this value except for be born and be from you. That's it. And that alone causes so much love and expectation and hope and desire, right? But if you don't have that, and then on top of that, you have society, not just your family, but also society saying that you don't have certain levels of value or worth, then we find ourselves with vacant esteem.
Okay. So that's vacant esteem. Guys, those who are watching, by all means, do send over your questions for Brittany. Brittany's here to serve us here in the UK. So, you know, do share. I will share the link towards the end, well, near enough towards the end of the show, just in case any of you wants to jump into the live and share your thoughts in regards to this conversation. Right. So ever-present anger, what is that?
So ever-present anger, she states that because of this lack of healing that we've had, you know, and by lack of healing, remember this experience that we're having as Black people is not something that's just happening to one or two of us. It's a collective experience. We're all having it. So not only are we all having it, but we all are also not having the resources or ability to heal. So you have trauma without healing. It puts you in a place where you have a constant anger, or as she say, like the anger, it resides just below the surface to the point where it doesn't take much to trigger you. You know, you're in a constant state of frustration, so you're easily triggered. And it says seemingly innocuous incidents become potentially dangerous for no apparent or rational reasons. And I think that is so deep, because what she's saying is situations that are not that deep will trigger you to behavior or frustration that is far exceeds the situation. And I don't know about what the hood looks like in the UK, but I know here in the US, I see this all the time. And I was just telling my friends, here's an example of this. It's probably about a year ago now. I was in downtown Atlanta, and on our corners, a lot of times we have these young boys who we call them water boys, because they'll stand at the like corners, like busy streets and highways, and they'll sell water bottles on like a hot day. Right, they'll sell you a bottle of water, $1 or $2. And I saw these two gentlemen, and they were young. They were both under the age of 18, and they were talking to each other. And I could tell my window was down, and I was right there at the light. So I'm right there next to them. I can see and hear everything. My window's down, right, and I can tell that the situation was becoming hostile. I didn't know why they were arguing, but I know that these boys were both under the 18. One of them has a gun, right? Mm-hmm. And the one with the gun is like, he's trying to de-escalate. He's not really looking to have this argument. But the other guy who was unarmed, who didn't have a gun, he just kept picking. It's like poking the bear in his face, talking. And I'm looking at him and I'm like, wow, he's, some people are like, you asking for trouble, right?
Yeah.
Then this same guy with no gun, he gets down on his knees and he looks up to him. He's like, shoot me, shoot me. Like, come on, shoot me. And that is an example of ever-present anger, but also vacant esteem, because another feature which I didn't mention about vacant esteem is this desire, if you will, to die violently. It's almost a form of suicide. You know, we talk about suicide, but
Yeah.
for Black folks. And I think
Yeah.
one of the ways suicidal behavior manifests itself, especially again in Black men, is through this you know, shoot me mentality. Like, I'm not scared. Come on. You know, this is a way to die violently, like inviting this type of experience. He didn't have any value for himself, because who would get down on their knees and say, shoot me, when you see someone has a gun and you don't? It's just an example of low self-value.
But then isn't that obviously because of the trauma? That's all coming back down to the trauma that, you know, because I even think about my youth, you know, like growing up myself. I remember at one stage in my life, I always thought I wasn't ever going to make it to 21. Don't ask me why. I just had it in my head, I'm not going to make it to 21, you know, and I could only imagine for a young person, a young Black male as well, especially in the United States of America, and even in the Caribbean, etc., you know, because we, no disrespect, Brittany, we always focus on the USA, yeah, but within the Caribbean, mate, it's the next level. Jamaica, next level. You know, Brazil, next level. It's all over. Where there is us, it's, you know, this trauma. But going back to what I was saying is, going back to the vacant esteem, it's more or less because you can't visualize yourself being anywhere more than your current situation.
Yep. So, you know, I was telling you, I work in healthcare now, and I work in the emergency rooms in psych, doing psych assessments. And I was at the hospital. This happened just a few months ago. And I work actually in South Carolina, which is about 2.5 hours from Georgia. So this is a different demographic, and it's predominantly white and rural for the most part. So I'm at the hospital, and we get this assessment about a boy. I would say he's maybe about 13, 14 years old, Black boy. And they were bringing him into the emergency room because he said that he was going to kill himself when he turns 18. Right. I was like, that was unique, because typically when I get those type of assessments, kids are wanting to, you know, saying, I want to commit myself. It's more of a in the moment situation. It's never futuristic or, you know. So as I'm doing my assessment and I'm talking to him, I'm like, so what's this, you know, why 18? Like, why is it that you want to? He was like, because that's when I'll be done with high school. And I was like, okay, so why would you want to? He said, because there's nothing to do after that. And I was just mind blown by this. And he's like, what else I'm gonna do? I was like, so, you know, what have you thought about college, the military, starting a business? He was just like, no, I don't. You know, once I'm 18, like, there's no reason I'll get my degree from my mom and then I'll die. And I was just, it was really mind blowing, but an example of vacant esteem. And I had to explain that to the doctor.
Okay.
This is, look at me. This is like a movie. I'm like,
yes, I know, right? It is.
So that experience, I had to explain to the all white doctors. I was like, this is a common mentality in Black boys and Black youth. This idea that they just don't see a future for themselves, and that's not just because of what may be happening in their home. While it definitely is a root cause. If you have trauma within your home, within your family dynamics, racial trauma, I think is just exacerbated by that. But it's not just what's happening in his house. It is what society says about him, you know, whether directly or indirectly, you know, implicit, overtly, whatever you want to say it. There's these consistent messages that we don't have value, which is why we started Black Lives Matter. It was a statement to say we have value, you know? So, yeah, that.
But there is some politics behind that whole Black Lives Matter, but I don't think this is the show for it, so maybe we won't go there.
Right.
No, I was just stalling for time when I asked. That was a personal thing for me that I was asking.
What, in regards to the Black Lives Matter?
I wanted to, like, I don't get to speak to anybody in America that's on the ground. So in terms of what you see on the, you know, I don't trust the media and all the rest of it. I'm just like, I need to speak to somebody who has some experience, that knows something in it. And we got a sister here. So for me, this is in terms of research, this is firsthand.
Right.
I'm going to ask my question. Sorry, everybody.
Ask your question.
Can I just find out, was that young man, because before we move on, Brittany, how was that young man after you left him, please?
Hospital site, I mean, he was the same. Like, when you come to the hospital, it's an acute setting, it's quick. It's not going to be a whole lot that I'm going to do or say that's going to probably change what's going on with him. And, based off of our assessment, he was not a candidate to be kept for what we call involuntary admission, like in the psych unit. So gave him some resources, and then we kind of sent him home.
But even after going through that process, did he not understand the gravity of the situation, that was a possibility, that you could be admitted into a psych unit for what you're saying? Did he not get that?
He didn't. So, okay, the way when you're doing an assessment for suicide, you're looking at there's a few things we're looking at. Number one, I'm looking at your psych history. Have you ever tried to commit suicide before? Is this something that is new? I'm looking at that. I'm looking at why you made the statement. We get a lot of kids who come into the hospitals after arguing with their moms, mom and dad arguments. I want to kill myself, when they really don't have a whole lot of intention. It was kind of in the moment situation. And then we're also looking at, do you have a plan? And is this something that you actually, you are expressing what you want to do? And he wasn't expressing, like, frankly, an acute desire to harm himself. So it's like, and he had no history. So just in that particular situation, he was.
Okay. All right.
Isn't it? But would you not say it's because one of the things that you said is that once he finishes high school, there's nothing left for him. So would you not say him saying that, he wants to die, commit suicide, etc., or he's not going to live, that's a cry for help. Like, I need help. I don't know what I'm doing.
Absolutely. It's a cry for help, but it would not necessarily translate into acute care. So when you're looking at acute care, you're looking at what's going to happen right now. The hospital is not a setting for example, somebody who needs therapy.
Right.
Which for him, he needs therapy, and he definitely needs some outpatient, like the resources.
But I was just about to ask about any kind of referral system to another kind of.
Heard him for therapy, but he was for involuntary, because I mean, frankly, and it may sound harsh, but this is how this is just how we do our assessments and what we look at. Again, as a hospital, we're looking at acute care. So, for example, I've had people who were literally cut down from rope as they were trying to themselves. Okay, I need you in the hospital today. I have to come in who take medication to try to overdose. Okay, you're staying with us today. But if you have a young guy who comes in and says, I want to kill myself in 5 years, he doesn't have any current plans, and he's saying, like, in this moment, he has no desire to harm himself, we would send him outpatient services. What? But yeah, that would not require an immediate.
Wow. Wow. Okay, so let's move to the next slide. So you've got racist socialization.
Yeah, so Dr. Joy talked about racist as another symptom of this syndrome that we have. And what she says is, after years of oppression and being degraded, being talked about, our physical features being humiliated, we as a people have internalized the same perspective about ourselves. So not only do the dominant group, white folks, have these perspectives of us, but we have now adopted these perspectives about us as well. And I put up there, white, you are right, brown, stay around, black, get back. I remember my grandmother, she was just sharing with me how that was a saying that used to be said when she was growing up. And it's like, the whiter you are, the better you are. And the darker you are, the worse.
Wow.
And, throughout, especially in the Caribbean island, the West Indies, the US, the UK, it's indoctrinated, whether Asia or India, that light skin
class system.
that is at the core of like white supremacy and a product of racism, but especially Black people, because Black children will mock Black children for having dark skin. And I know, like, growing up,
Brittany, I think it's a Wi-Fi. Just guys, if anybody is being triggered by this conversation, I'm going to put in a contact number for Samaritans. Should anybody be triggered, because obviously we are dealing with a conversation that may have an impact on your trauma. That's not what we're trying to do, but I have to be mindful based upon the nature of this conversation. Sorry, continue, Brittany. Thank you.
oh yes, I was just saying that. What was I saying? I'm sorry, I got distracted. My brain. I can't remember my face.
So it was just the last slide was about
Racial socialization.
That's it. Okay. So what I was saying is, as I was growing up, with dark skin, especially in 4th grade, was really, really hard for me because I was constantly mocked for having dark skin. And, they would call me Black Spook. That was like the name that the kids had for me. And these were all Black children. And it's because Black children had been indoctrinated with the idea that dark skin is bad and white skin is good. And if you look at that slide, if you pull up that slide again.
Yeah, sure. Of course.
If you look at that slide, this particular picture was from about 1954. There was a time in our, in our history in the U.S. where our schools were segregated by race. And, we had advocates trying to promote integration, which I don't necessarily think was a good idea. But anyways, promoting integration. And one of their arguments with the Supreme Court was, because in the United States, they had something called separate but equal, where they said, listen, you guys have separate facilities. We'll make them equal, but they'll be separate. They were always separate, but they were, of course, were never equal. And the argument was segregation is hurting Black children and is causing them to view themselves as low value, right? And one of the things that they did to make this argument in 1954 is they did what they called the baby doll test. And that's what you see a young boy looking at the dolls. And what they would do is they would put a Black doll in front of the child and say, and a white doll, and say, which doll is good? Which doll is the, good or bad attributes. And those good attributes were given to white dolls while the bad attributes were given to Black dolls. And this was really showing how Black children at very young ages had been indoctrinated with racism to believe that they were less than, right? That was one of the arguments made in 1954.
What was the name of the lady that actually done that whole therapy? Oh gosh, I can see her, but I can't remember her name.
You're talking about the white lady.
Yeah. She done a whole movement in regards to it, and but sorry, carry on, Brittany. I just thought you
right.
were
I'm not familiar with her name, but the baby doll test, and that same test was taken, I want to say, back in, I was in college, 2010, 2012. They did like an up, and nothing had changed. Nothing had changed. It was the exact same results as 1954, with Black children still giving white children positive characteristics, and then Black dolls the negative characteristics.
Brittany, I have a quick question. Do you think that it's got to do with the label Black?
What's that?
Do you think it has anything to do with the label Black? Because Black is not even a color; it's a shade, and there is no. Go ahead. You've probably been asked this already.
I mean, it could have something to do with it, but I think just Black has been given negative.
Thank you, Culture Mark.
What's that?
No, Culture Mark has just came up with it. It's called Menny Clark is her name.
Yes.
Yeah. And it was a psychologist, Kenneth and Menny Clark, that actually came with a Black doll test. Yeah. Because I just Googled it. Yeah, sorry. So you were saying about the color Black, Miss T.
Yeah, I have issues with that because obviously I'm very fair. And when I was, children speak the truth. And as a child growing up, when people kept saying to me, well, you're Black, I'm like, well, actually, I'm not. I'm brown. Because it wasn't logically what you were saying to me didn't marry up to my perception of myself. So I had people telling me what I was when I didn't agree with them. So my question is, Brittany, do you think that, you know, if we took away that and gave our children something to be proud of, to identify with, so, you know, Nubian, melanated, not everybody's from Africa. So to call people African American when they're not, that's also an irritation, because you're telling me what I am when I know what I am. And
Absolutely.
do you understand what I'm saying? So
but not everybody knows what they are. Not everybody knows where they come from, because obviously, you know, like that's the reason why I believe that why people say African Americans, because it's just an assumption that you definitely came from Africa. Do you get what I'm saying? So I think without you knowing your history, not everybody can identify and say how far back or where they come from, etc. Does that make sense?
But even so, the labels are still being given by, and I'm not going to call them supremacists because I don't agree with that either, by Caucasians.
Yeah, but it's not all Caucasians, but there is a white supremacist out there. We can't deny it.
So, but what I'm saying is, historically, those labels have been given to us by Caucasians within the system, right?
Mm-hmm.
It hasn't been by Asians. Well, it's obviously some parts of the world, all the rest of it. But I'm just trying to kind of like, she's gone again.
I think it's just the Wi-Fi keeps going in and out.
Do you understand what I'm saying, Brittany?
No, I understand. I think that I guess here I have more of a, what's the word? Acceptance for the word, because I feel like it in a sense unites us. You know, all from the diaspora, you know what I mean? Like we all kind of, you know, whether in the UK, the West Indies, or the United States, we just off in different places. You know what I'm saying? At the end of the day, we all started off on that same ship, and that ship went different places. Some of us ended up in the islands. Some of us ended up in the United States, but we came from the same ship. And a lot of times, you know, I don't, you know, here in the US, we don't, most people are African American. And so, you know, I use that term. I have comfort with both. I don't, but I can definitely understand the disconnect, especially for a child who's like, because I've heard my son say that, and he has dark skin, and he's like, but I'm not Black. You know, like, you know, when he was younger, not understanding Black as a race, because technically it's not. Like, Black was not a race, white is not a race. So there's definitely, I think there could be some work done around that. I don't know how much of a difference it would be, because at the end of the day, whatever name we give ourselves, if it is negatively associated with low value, or if society continues to say, whether African American, West Indian, whatever the term is, if it's not appropriately associated with good things, I think the sense of low value and that vacant esteem is still it's still possible to happen, you know.
Rachel's asked a question: Are we not all from Africa?
I know there are arguments that we all are not. Some say we are. Some of us came from, like, you know, Israel. I thought so. I'm not an expert in that area. I can't say. I just know that I'm African.
I'm African too.
I claim it with pride. I don't.
You too.
88% DNA ancestry test. So I'm, you know, Black, African, Negro, whatever you want to call me. I'm good.
Yeah, I'm African. I just wish in the UK that when we fill in, like, say, application forms or anything like that, I just hate the fact that they have, like, oh, you know, you're Black West Indian or you're Black African. It just, we're Black Africans, then the West Indian, because I look at my foundation. Without me, if you remove my foundation, then I remove my ancestors. Do you get what I'm saying? But that's just for me. Cultural Marx says there's no such thing as white supremacists because they have never achieved anything considered to be supreme apart from destruction. I totally agree with you. But the reason why I said there is a thing called white supremacists, because that's what they made up. That's what they said for themselves. And that's what they're kind of like going based upon that vibration, they feel that the destruction is,
so
go ahead.
Based on what you just said in terms of filling out forms,
there's
another option. You don't actually have to tick anything. And
for example,
no, I said, I look at it, there's nothing here that represents me, and I opt out. Do you not feel that is also, because that's what we do, we're opting into what they say, what they tell us, all the rest of it. We have an opt out button.
Or other, it's called other.
Yes, I know.
Yeah,
I'm
thanks,
saying,
I tell people all the time, identify how you choose. However, that does not stop you from being identified by how the world is going to see you a certain way. You know, I remember Halle Berry saying that, you know, trying to identify as both black and white. And her mom, who was white, was like, nah, you black. Because when the world look at you, they going to see and treat you like a black woman.
Come on.
You know, at the end of the day, the skin that I have it speaks to my experience, you know, speaks to my experience. No matter what you call me, this experience is similar among all of us. And I don't know, like, I'm comfortable with it, so I don't know what options other people use. I'm not an expert in that.
Okay, so moving on to the examples of racist socialization. So we kind of touched on this about a few months back with the Kua. So guys, you know, do check out that episode. It was about a couple of weeks ago, unpacking the racism within. We talked about colorism, but we're going to hear from Brittany more in depth to the examples of racist socialization. Take it away, Brittany.
I mean, just, you know, what I was saying as far as colorism, just as deeply, you know, especially in like the islands, they do a lot of skin bleaching to lighten their skin. Sammy Sosa has clearly engaged. I think is there a Caribbean artist who recently?
Ooh, Vibes Cartel.
Vibes. That's what I thought. I thought it was Vibes Cartel. Isn't he in prison?
Yeah, he's in jail. Isn't he not doing life or something like that? He's making bare tunes, man.
Yeah.
Man's he's just he's packing his
He's
stuff.
right. He gets released, doesn't he? Yeah. However, Alkaline stopped. So happy about that.
Yeah, so he, you know, those are examples of just this idea that light skin is better. And if you look at like, especially in the US, if you look at a lot of our celebrities, whether rappers, basketball players, the black men are almost always to the like 90th percent, almost always with women who do not look like their mothers. And I always, you know, we can argue that it's just, you know, that's who I fell in love with. But I think it's I think it's far past it. I think it speaks to an indoctrination, because the more you become successful, this idea that the woman next to you needs to be lighter. And it's what you see. If you look at the basketball, I think with the exception of maybe like Dwayne Wade and LeBron James, almost exclusively all of the NBA players are married to white women or women who are not black, or women who are very fair-skinned, which there's nothing wrong with that. But when you see that pattern continuously, and it is overwhelming in the 95%, you have to ask yourself, is this an indoctrination? And I believe that it is, for sure.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. You see it in the media, we get that. Do you know what I mean? It's indoctrinating us by the programming. You know, when we look at the television, here in the UK, we rarely, if ever, see a black couple with a family. It's always the black man with a white woman, or the white woman. Do you know what I mean? It's never just. It's never that. So it's a constant programming that we're always going under all the time. And again, if you do see celebrities, not all of them, but the majority, they tend to be with other ethnic groups other than themselves. And it does, as a black woman, it makes me think, right, what's wrong with us? Do you know what I mean? What's wrong with your mother? What's wrong with your sister? You know, it's like you don't want to be associated with your roots. Does that make sense, T?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
See me or hear me?
Yeah, yes. Yeah. We can hear you, just can't see you.
Okay. I'm sorry. It's temporarily like that.
Yeah. So I'll go back to the slide itself, because obviously there was other areas that you had on there. So you got colorism, you got the beauty standards, the hair,
Absolutely.
features.
Definitely. Beauty standards, as far as the way that we wear our hair, I think it's been indoctrinated for us to wear straight hair. I've been seeing like a lot of women over the past probably 15 years have really embraced natural hair.
Natural hair.
That's
There has
something
been a real movement.
of, but the idea that we have to put what we call the creamy crack in our hair to keep it straight, I remember Malcolm X talking about that in the book, how he would get a perm and he's like, wait a minute, like this is not my hair. This is, I've been taught that my nappy hair is bad. And, nappy hair or nappy headed Negro was a term oftentimes used back in the day, by slave owners or planters or just white people in power. They call you nappy headed. And so we start to use that same word and we start to see it as bad. Oh, look at your hair nappy. Imagine looking at the hair within your own culture and see it as bad. No other group really has that experience. No other group has that experience to the extent that we do. And it's just like, even our noses, we talk about, oh, your nose is too wide. Like that's, we're African, we have this, this is how, these are our characteristics, but we see them as bad because we've been taught to do so. I talk about the over-sexualization of Black women. That is deeply rooted in racism. When you look at music videos by Black men, especially in the US, a lot of the rap music is completely degrading to Black women. What other culture does that? What other culture just publicly, openly will degrade? I'm talking about degrade their women. None. But no other culture has the history of rape and sexual breeding and sexual exploitation that we have. So a lot of what we see is, again, it is a syndrome. It's the leftover, the residue of slavery and of all of the things that we experienced afterwards, because it's not like slavery ended and then we just were just free. Like we went through to get to where we are.
Yeah, and the thing is, we're still, obviously with the post-traumatic slave syndrome, it just goes to show that, as a people, we need healing, but the healing isn't going to come from outside. The healing, it's got to come within ourselves. We've got to recognize that we even need healing, because there's not so many, but I know there is Black individuals or people of color. Well, should I say, I don't even like the word people of color, but you know what I mean? That doesn't even feel like they need healing, like they're good, or their healing is coming from, and this is no disrespect to Christians or anything like that, Christ is my healer and this, that, and the other. And I get it, because I was in that whole mindset as well. But the truth be told, like, we're still going through it. So where's the healing? Do you know what I mean? Kind of thing. Like, things just doesn't add up. And I think that as well, that's a programming for us to believe that's the healing is going to come externally when it has to come internally.
Absolutely. I agree. I agree wholeheartedly. Statement.
I think there's some comments. Gosh, I hope I don't offend anybody, but I'm just going to read some of their comments that's out. Sandra says, however, we need services, so let's not hide with otherwise we will fall into the desired outcome, silent and disappearing. I'm not sure. I think that might be during when we were speaking.
I like Mark's comment. Easiest solution to TV, just switch it off, especially if you have children.
Yes, and cancel your frigging TV license. I did yesterday. I'm so like, Brittany, imagine this year. I don't know if you guys have to do that in the US, but we have to pay to watch TV. Like, we want to watch a specific channel called the BBC, which is British Broadcasting Channel. We have to pay, like, I think it's like, anyway, I was paying installments like £14 per month. And I wasn't even watching the BBC because I'm obviously doing all my streaming, YouTube, whatever. And it just dawned on me, like, what the heck? They've been making bare money from people for free, yeah? And then to top it, then they said to me that if obviously you get caught watching the TV, BBC or whatever, then obviously you get a fine. But I know I haven't watched it and there's nothing there for me to watch. Do you get what I'm saying? But it's just, we have been programmed.
I didn't know that. That's how it works.
Yeah, it's peak out here. They're just making bare money. Right now, we have to pay. I'm sure you guys have to pay double bubble for your gas and electricity. Do you guys have to pay?
Listen, yeah, gas I think is like $4.50. My cousin's paying $7 for gas. I don't know what that translates to um, in pounds, but I know it's a lot. But I think, listen, I think we have a global crisis in Russia and Ukraine that's influencing those gas prices, and so I'm big on like the global perspective. So I try not to complain too much because I think it's kind of a necessary thing right now, unfortunately.
Okay. Right, Brittany, I am aware that you have to go now. You're going to have to leave the live. So I feel like we need a part two, like we need more conversation. What I'm going to do, guys, I'm going to put this stream link into the chat. If anybody wants to jump onto the live to continue the conversation, Brittany will be leaving us in 10 minutes, literally. So if you want to jump in the live, please make sure you are showing yourself. We don't want to see no avatar with no faces that doesn't belong to you. We want to see you in person because we like to, we're having a proper dialogue here. If you want to jump on, I have shared a StreamYard link, so feel free to jump in and I can add you into the chat itself. So in terms of, because obviously we're wrapping up now, we've discussed about post-traumatic slave syndrome, we've talked about colonization, we talked about vacant esteem. How do you see, how can we actually heal ourselves? Because I mentioned that before. How do we actually start doing that? How do we start doing the work for ourselves, on ourselves?
Yeah, and these I'm giving relatively vague because those answers in and of themselves would be a show. But you know how I was saying that racism starts with our body. I think that our healing has to start with our body as well. Looking at bodies, number one, like caring for it, but practicing mindfulness to recognize when we're having those anxieties, to recognize when something is off. And a lot of times, like for me, example, I would have like anxiety, right? And one of the things I would do is I would hold my breath, and I wasn't recognizing that I was just holding my breath because I was so used to having anxiety. Like in those moments, I was constantly, and so I was just having like just irregular breath. But when you practice mindfulness and you actually take the time to sit down and say, what am I feeling in my body? What's happening right now? That's when you can recognize, wow, I'm constricting and don't even realize it. Or I may even be grinding my teeth, or I may even be thinking about something that is causing me stress that I have no control over. That is single-handedly one of the first, because it starts with us. So being able to step into your body and recognize what it's experiencing is key to what's going on in your mind and heart when it comes to healing any type of trauma. Whenever you look at healing trauma, they always talk about mindfulness. So that's one. I think that exposure, our children have to be exposed to Black things and Blackness, and they have to be able to see, us have joy. I'm taking my son on vacation to South America soon, and I'm like, this is, for me, this is breaking not so much breaking a curse, but it's just creating a sense of generational joy where we're going away from the mess of what we have, and it's just you're exposed to something new. You're able to see something different and understand that life doesn't have to be what we see every day. When we decide to rewrite our own narratives, because, and I always say, we're given a story and then there's a story that we get to make for ourselves. Where I was born, who my parents are, what my parents are, how I was loved as a child, who the people are in my life who support me and don't support me. I have no control over that. What I do have control over is the decisions that I make that can allow me to overcome a lot of the predicaments that we find ourselves in. And so, practicing what I call that rewriting the narrative or rewriting the story. I know that we have this type of trauma or abuse or experience from our, family, but saying, you know what, I'm going to do something different. That's how you start the pattern of creating um, turning the tide for our families and for our generations. Because at the end of the day, we fight and we've been fighting, but what I don't have a lot of control over what the government does. You know what I mean? Like I don't. I wish I did, but I don't. And if we had the control we wanted to, we probably wouldn't even be having this conversation. That's the in the power, but I need to start with me and my family, my son. Like I have a little Black son that I have to raise. And so, yeah, I can march, but what am I doing to show him joy? What am I doing to build his esteem? What am I doing to show him that he has value despite what society may render or say about him? It's starting with us, us, because nobody else gonna heal us. Nobody gonna heal us. We have to heal ourselves. It's a work. And being gracious to Black people and to white folks as well. You know, people don't know. Everybody don't understand. Everybody doesn't. That was one of the key to my healing, because I was just walking around mad all the time, especially in 2020. I just wanted to fight everybody. I wanted to fight. I was frustrated, you know, and having grace and saying, you know what, most white people have no idea about, I believe that most white people are inherently racist. Most of them have no idea about the bias that they naturally have and hold.
Yeah, definitely facts.
Right. All racism doesn't look like not every racist act looks like, you know, a Confederate flag and somebody with a white cape over their face, or, you know, sometimes racism literally is just the idea that whiteness is better, and that's carried within the minds of white people, whether they are nice or not nice. You know, that's a whole other conversation. But just, you know, doing the work with yourself, it starts with you. You know, my biggest healing has come with me doing what I need to do for myself.
Great, thank you. I know you're going to go in a moment, but you know Rizima Manicum?
Yes.
Right. So I know obviously this is the end of your segment now, but you know, Voices for Change, they did an interview with this author, yeah, and he's got a book called, is it My Granddad's Hands or something like that?
His hands. And he speaks much more in depth about the idea of racialized trauma being in our bodies, and he obviously does a much better job of explaining it than I do. It's a phenomenal book, and it really just, it gives a different perspective to healing trauma.
Right. So basically what Brittany would suggest, if anybody wants to, you know, go deeper within this subject matter, by all means do check out Dr. DeGruy as well, Dr. Joy DeGruy. She's got so much information online as well. And the author and psychotherapist Rizima Manicum, he's got a book called My Granddad's Hands. Do check that out as well if you want to do more, you know, research and really more self-healing. Miss T, do you have any questions for Brittany before she goes?
I have got so many questions for Brittany, so they will take too much time. Are we going to have Brittany back, please?
Brittany, are we going to have you back?
Absolutely. Just let me know. Just let me know.
Okay, so maybe next month, because we have got we're going to be doing like a Blexit. Is it Blexit? With various different individuals who actually have made a move, whether it's the Grenada, whether it's the Ghana, whether it's the Jamaica. I believe we're going to start that off next week. So guys, you know, do make sure you have subscribed to the channel so that you do get the notification. No, actually next week is going to be self-employment versus employment. We're going to be talking about employment, self-employment within the UK, what that looks like, because obviously we have been programmed to just work and just have this one stream of income, which we obviously all experienced during the pandemic. It's not the one, do you know what I mean? So we're going to explore more into that next week, Wednesday. So I would imagine next July next month, we'll send you an invite and just let us know which Wednesday fits you.
Definitely.
Cool.
Thank
beans.
you so much for coming.
And Tina, did you get all those questions written down? Yeah.
Definitely.
Yes.
Sorry, say that again.
But I've enjoyed our conversation.
Yeah,
We've enjoyed it as well. Sorry again for the technical issues at the beginning, but you know, I think you guys did a good job. All right. Okay. Well, thank you so much, Brittany, and we'll see you again in next month. And all the best. We hope you get sorted out with your feet, because we know you're going to go over to the hospital now, right?
Yes, I'm going to go get my toe looked at. It is ugly under here, okay?
Child, I was going to say, let's have a look, but maybe not.
Wrapped up.
Take care.
All right, you take care. Keep us posted. Let us know how you're getting on. I will send you a message just to see how you're doing anyway.
Definitely. It was great.
All right.
Bye.
Thank you, Brittany. Bye. Wow, that was so much. I'm a bit like, You know, I'm so passionate about this topic as it is already. And I don't even know why, because it's just so triggering. But I just feel like,
see, I'm not triggered.
No, but when I say triggering, in terms of like where we're at, do you get what I'm saying? Like, so much of us is dealing with like self and vacant esteem. So much of us are dealing with colorism, you know, because these are real issues that we deal with within our community, whether we want to face it or not. We're dealing with that. Do you get what I'm saying? You know, so guys, I have shared a link. So if anybody does want to join in the conversation, by all means, do join in, because we're going to be wrapping up in the next, say, 10 minutes? Yeah, Misty, in about 10 minutes, we're wrapping up.
Hungry. Yeah.
What did you say? You're hungry?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well,
but it's a bit late. I'm probably just going to have a cup of tea. That's what I fancy.
Okay.
Tea.
Well, yeah.
Where's Culture Mark? Culture Mark had enough to say. Where am there?
Culture Mark. Well, I did send out a message to Culture Mark, and he hasn't actually. He hasn't.
Should we just give a shout out to the people that were in the chat anyway?
Yeah, of course. Big up yourself, Rachel, Sandra, Urban Goddess, and who else was in it? Sharina. Big up yourself, Sharina. Sharina's on there as well. She said, "Good evening, ladies. What a much needed topic to cover and share openly. Such a lovely space created here. Big love always. Team Now. Love you, girl.
Thank you. Beautiful. She's so gorgeous." And Sandra,
really Sandra is Sandra actually is a sister-in-law of mine. We used to go to the same church, and she works within the mental health profession. Very well established woman. I think maybe one day we should I think, Sandra, if you are on the live, I think when we have the conversation with Brittany in July, that you should also be a part of the conversation as well. I think that will be quite interesting, just to hear from, you know, because obviously with Brittany being in the US, which is great, but also having somebody that's here as well. And also Sandra is I think she's from Uganda, I think. So that would be great. Oh, Culture Mark says,
I know he's in Jamaica
at the moment. Would love to join, but I'm multitasking, so I can't join the live. Sure.
All right, we'll let you off.
All right,
enjoy.
Mark. We love you. Yeah. It doesn't matter. You could have still multitasked and do your thing and just cut the set.
Come on, he's still putting some messages in there. So hey.
Yeah, true that. But you could have just itch up the phone on the side and still, you know, do your thing. Everybody multitask. We be multitasking. I'm writing. I'm doing this whole thing. I'm typing message. I've got my WhatsApp going on as we speak. It's just like, Lord God. Yeah.
But yeah.
So yeah, but in terms of, I mean, I feel like this is quite an interesting season, because obviously we're going to be speaking about employment. We're going to be talking about self-employment. And then we've got that whole series talking about those who actually have exited out to Grenada, to US, etc. Yeah, even some people's actually gone to Atlanta, gone to the US from the UK. So it'd be interesting to hear their stories to why.
Do you know what? Of all the places I mean, when I think about leaving the UK, I wouldn't leave here to go to a country where the police are carrying guns. I wouldn't do it. Like, that's what I wanted to say to you. Like, I don't know what happened, but I wanted to say the difference between like US and here is those police carry guns. We have to have
in Jamaica they carry guns as well. In the West Indies they carry guns.
Yeah, but they're not quick to let off shots like how they are in America.
They still let off shots, babe. They still let off shots. Well, I mean, all right, maybe not. Sorry?
I said, Miss T doesn't get to hear about these things because, you know, I'm very selective when it comes to the information that I grab. I don't watch mainstream TV or anything like that. So I don't watch the news. But what I do know is that apart from the UK, say places like Spain, France, their police actively, normal police, they carry guns. Ours do not, Kaz.
That's true. That is true.
Yeah.
That was
So
one
I
of the
would-
reasons why my dad chose to come here rather than go to States.
Oh,
Because
Mark's
of that
he's happy
reason.
to come. He's happy to come on
Yeah.
another day.
Yeah. So Mark, Mark and Sandra, we're gonna invite you both to join the live once we booked in with Brittany, so we can have a proper candid conversation, because it's nice when you get other people's perspectives, because everybody thinks differently.
Absolutely.
And it just makes the conversation a lot more, interesting, more engaging. And I think because we've already had part 1 to this conversation, so now we can just like go a bit more deeper in, and look at things in a very different perspective. So that'd be great. Yanka said 100%. I believe that's in regards to what you're saying about the guns.
Oh, thank you, Uncle. Beautiful.
Yeah.
Mm.
So we're gonna wrap up now because it's like 10:22. So what you got planned for the weekend?
Angel numbers. I'm not sure. I'm just going to be enjoying the weather, I think. As long as it lasts.
You do know it's going to rain this weekend, right? You are aware of this.
No,
I'm sorry, I'm not meaning to like kill the vibe or anything. But
you're not raining on my parade. Don't worry about that. We're in the UK, Kaz. Me, Mevan, yes, sir. Yeah? I've got tennis on.
I can't see you. Your light's dark, Bridget.
But I did. Trust me. Even I was like, oh, I was out doing a bit of gardening.
Sorry, I'm just saying. You do look dark.
Whatever, sis. No, but I jumped on what do you call it? It's live earlier to see what was going on the South Bank, and when I jumped into it,
was that Colourful Radio?
It wasn't Colourful Radio. It was Coco Girls magazine.
Oh right, okay.
So they were doing something over there. So their lives, oh my goodness me. When I connected, the first thing I heard was a whole heap of people singing Redemption song.
Wow. Yeah. Amazing.
Yeah, that was a song.
Yeah, because that's where our girl Janelle is down there with Iola. They've been interviewing for the Windrush down in Brixton. So they've gone down to South Bank. We would have been down there, but we had to serve you guys. So that's the reason why we was here. We wanted to, ain't gonna lie, we was thinking about cancelling, but we thought, we were joking. We weren't going to cancel because consistency is everything. That's how it is when you do these things. You have to stay committed, even though every now and then I may try and have a 6 months, like, go off.
Don't worry, everybody. I make sure I'm behind her. Like, come on, Kaz, this is your team.
Yeah,
I want to see you. Right. But so you asked me before we go. I started talking about Stormzy, but because I hadn't, I was a bit stressed, so I just remembered reading something about him. It was Exeter. See, I knew I'd get it.
Yeah, Exeter University. I wanted to say it, but obviously you couldn't hear me. And I was speaking to the StreamYard people. I was speaking to Grant to try and sort out my audio. So I'm stressing and trying to sort out behind the scenes with the studio and still keep calm and all of that stuff.
I was trying to be calm, but I wasn't connecting with you telepathically. I'm like, I know I read this week. What is it? I couldn't remember. But
I sent you the bio. I actually WhatsApped you the bio.
Of what? Yeah, no, for Brittany. But the bit about Stormzy wasn't in there, was it?
Oh no, but that's because that was a conversation that we was gonna have. Yeah, I know.
Yeah, but you got to remember sometimes Miss T doesn't always connect with that kind of news and stuff. But I think I'd been on my travels to school and I'd glanced in the newspaper and I was like, oh, Stormzy, because he's from my side, So I was like,
he's from East.
No, he's not. He's from South.
Oh yeah, you're South origin. I keep thinking that you're from East, but I keep forgetting you live in East, but you're originally a Southie. But that's amazing though, because obviously he's come off the whole circuit, the media, social media, and everything else. Mm-hmm. And sometimes when people just goes away, you just don't know what they're doing behind the scenes, And I'm super proud of Stormzy because he's setting an example, a bit like a Carla as well, just that. But I feel that it's not even just about getting a doctorate. It's just about investing in yourself, you know, however that looks, you know, just investing in yourself, investing in your well-being, becoming a better human being. I think that is something definitely worth celebrating. It's not always about, you know, academia and all that kind of stuff, even though it's great, but internally it's about, you know, investing in yourself, because I feel that even from this conversation we're getting, what Brittany was sharing is she has to deal with herself first, because she's got her son. You know what I mean? So as much as, yes, she wants to go and march and everything else, but how is that really helping her?
Remember what I was saying to you in terms of healing, we can't think about any. It's like, you know, when you're on the plane and they say to you, if anything happens, you have got to deal with yourself first before you can help anybody else. And I'm just a very strong believer of, you know what? No, let's not forget. Let's not talk about everybody, what everyone's doing, what everyone's going through. Let's just deal with you, because you can't help everybody. As much as we want to, we got to deal with ourselves first. And she's amazing, and I'm looking forward to it. Really I wanted to get into the more of the healing. Okay, so what would you suggest? Where, you know, signpost, direct. Like, I love what she was saying about the counseling, like the mindfulness, but I know that there's other things that we can explore, you know, and I just wanted to kind of like pull more of that out of her, but not enough time. But hey,
definitely we do that in July for sure, because I think that is definitely worth a conversation, because you know, as much as people say, yeah, we need to build up the economy, we need to do XYZ, but it's like say somebody wins, say, the lottery, you got all this money, but you're mashed up inside and you don't even know how to handle your own self. So how are you going to be able to handle the finances?
Yeah, the money, the thing is, you know, everybody thinks that once they get a windfall or something, everything will be all right. No, money doesn't make happiness. You make happiness, you know? So, you know, ultimately, I think we should all just find a nice wooded area and just go and live off grid. We'll be fine.
That would be amazing, mate. I am behind you. I was watching an interview with Zoe on the Exodus Collective, guys. Zoe from the Exodus Collective, she actually left the UK and she's moved to Grenada, and she's agreed. I got a confirmation email from her today. She's going to be joining us next month, I believe. And she's going to be talking about her experience, why she actually made an exit to go and move over to Grenada. And do check out her YouTube channel. It's called Exodus Collective. She's interviewed some phenomenal individuals who's actually made a move. There's actually a big movement going on right now. We're going to be interviewing Kwame McPherson, one of our guest co-host every now and then. So he's actually made a move. He's gone back to Jamaica, and he's also a part of an organization called Bear Jamaica, which was founded by a lady called Clarissa Norton, I believe. Yeah, Clarissa Norton. And she's from Mississippi in South USA. So they're going to be joining us. I think they're joining us. I think Kwame's joining us couple of weeks time. But anyway, just make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel and hit the notification bell so that you can be updated. And please do share as well, because sharing is caring. And also, you know, we want to serve our community. We want to empower us so that we can be the best version of ourselves. Yeah, so until then, anything else you want to say before we end the live?
No.
Oh, yes. What's you call it? Swiss's concept is Black Pound Day. Yeah, at White City. So it's actually going to be launching. Actually, let me just quickly play the video.
Seminar. Black Pound Day anniversary. Tell your brethren, yeah. Black Pound Day anniversary. Party hard.
Yeah, that's right, family. The Black Pound Day store's official opening is is on the 25th of June 2022, the weekend of our anniversary, where we will cut the ribbon and open our doors for you to spend with over 80 plus UK black-owned brands the whole year round. That's right, people, we are here to stay. This is a mini department store, so we have categories ranging from homeware to clothing, skincare and beauty, books, family entertainment and children's toys and accessories. We are located in West London's Westfield White City Shopping Centre, Unit 1068, which is situated right next door to the Five Guys. Our opening time is from 10 a.m. until 8 p.m. And guess what?
There will be a UK funky DJ and PA set from myself, Deneo, including fellow DJs Ace from One Extra, Fiona Hall, and Timeless from So Solid to enhance your shopping experience. So you know the roof will be on fire.
The Black Pound Day store will officially open in Westfield White City on Saturday the 25th of June 2022 at 10 a.m. See you there. Remember, the revolution will be economized.
So guys, she go down to White City, and we just need to big up to Chantal from Boutique Mamau Fashion. She is actually going to have a section there. She'll be selling her clothing down there, so you can go buy your Mamau outfits at White City. So yeah, big up to yourself, Chantal.
I think we need to have a link up down there, Kaz.
Babe, I
don't often go over to them sites, but yeah.
If I finish my hair in time, then yeah, I'm keeping it real, man. My plans this weekend was just to take this out, redo my hair. I need to fix up. You know, anyway, let me just not go into the plan.
That's no problem, because you know what?
We can go. No, but it finishes at 8. It starts at it finishes at 8. So it starts at 10. It finishes at 8 p.m. Right?
I was about to say to you, no stress, because you know, see me, I'm born by myself. If mine go, me go.
Me, I come with you.
All right.
Don't worry, me go forward with you. Yeah.
All right. See you there.
Right.
So people come and meet us. Come and have a chat. Come and meet my mates.
All right. And Yankel said 100. So I'm assuming Yankel is forwarding with us as well.
Hopefully.
Yeah, that'd be great. So guys, hopefully we will see you down there as well. We're just going to go and hang out. Obviously, you can see there's going to be some entertainment. Even if you don't buy anything right then, it's absolutely fine. But just go down there, because the movement is for ourselves. We've got to support it. You know, in order for them to stay, it needs us, the consumers, to pay, you know. So let's reach and let's make this thing, let's make it a movement so that we can have more franchises. You know, could you imagine they go to Westfield in Stratford?
Nothing there.
Well, anyway.
Plenty teams, but just not the Black Pound.
Yeah, team. But you know, at least if it's growing in different locations.
I did say that, innit? I would like it in Stratford. That would be amazing. But it's going to grow. It is growing.
It's definitely going to grow, but it needs us
to push the
thing to make it grow, you know, because we've been doing it for everybody else, but and that's a part of this whole post-traumatic slave syndrome. Anyway, it's time for us to go. So thank you guys for joining us. Please do share the lives with all of your people, them. It helps our platform to grow, and it helps us to stay on as well, because we want to start monetizing as well, making some money and all that kind of stuff, so that we can do other things as well within our community. But yeah, I think I'm rambling a lot, so it's time for me to go now. So, all right, peace out, guys.
Peace out, everyone.